Today, I begin a narrative journey into the world of minimalism, a path that promises simplicity, clarity, and renewal of spirit. I will take you through the many facets of letting go, starting with the initial spark that led me to embrace a life filled with purpose rather than excess. For many years, my life resembled a chaotic tapestry of accumulated items, busy spaces, and a mindset cluttered by distractions. I arrived at a moment when the weight of clutter, both physical and emotional, became too heavy to ignore. In that moment, I recognized that a fresh start was necessary. Stepping into minimalism was not merely about discarding possessions. It was a heartfelt invitation to rediscover what truly mattered. The decision was born from a deep desire to reconnect with life's simplest pleasures, to travel a less burdensome path, and to find beauty in well-curated spaces. While memories of sentimental keepsakes tugged at me, I learned that what I cherished most were not the objects themselves, but the stories behind them. Removing the excess allowed me to focus on meaningful experiences and genuine connections. As you join me on this journey, imagine your life as a canvas waiting to be cleared of unnecessary strokes, ready for new, deliberate creations. I invite you to explore your own belongings and life choices, considering what serves a purpose and what only adds unnecessary weight. This story is not about perfection, but progress, reminding us that every step taken toward a simpler life is a victory in itself. I discovered that every journey to minimalism is uniquely personal, shaped by individual values and experiences. Embrace the idea that minimalism is a celebration of life rather than an exercise in deprivation. With each item you release, you'll discover a renewed sense of freedom and inner calm. Looking back on the early days of my minimalism journey, I remember feeling overwhelmed by the weight of unnecessary possessions and the stress that clutter brought into my life. The experience began quietly, almost imperceptibly, when I noticed that my surroundings, filled with items accumulated over many years, were reflecting a cluttered mind and disorganized routine. One day, as I was sorting through a box of old belongings, a simple conversation with an old friend changed my perspective completely. This friend, who had embraced minimalism some time before, described a world where each item had its own purpose and every space had its own story. His calm confidence and clear vision sparked a curiosity in me that soon turned into determination. I began to study the philosophy of minimalism, digging into its roots and understanding that it is more than just a trend of decluttering. At its heart, minimalism is about intentionality. It teaches us to focus on what truly matters and to let go of the rest. I learned that by reducing the number of possessions, I could also reduce the mental noise that often disrupts clarity and well-being. In a way, each discarded item was a symbolic step toward freeing my mind from the constraints of overconsumption and material attachment. As I delved deeper, I discovered benefits that went well beyond a tidy room. I experienced less stress and found that a simpler environment created room for creativity and inner peace. The process of letting go of items I no longer needed illuminated many hidden aspects of my personal life. The emotional ties to certain objects, the memories that no longer served me, and the insights about who I really wanted to be. Embracing minimalism allowed me to focus on quality relationships and experiences, rather than the endless pursuit of material success. This revelation was transformative, and it encouraged me to continue exploring the practical steps toward a life that felt both lighter and fuller. In the months that followed, I began integrating minimalism into every facet of my daily life. I discovered that adopting a minimalist mindset was not about rigid rules, but about embracing freedom through thoughtful choices. Each morning brought a quiet excitement as I looked forward to clearing out items that no longer sparked joy. This process revealed that clutter was not only physical, but also a mirror of accumulated worries and outdated habits. Gradually, I learned to prioritize what aligned with my core values, cherishing unique, meaningful items over unnecessary possessions. With each decision, I felt lighter and more connected to the present moment, understanding that a simpler environment nurtured creativity and serenity. The transformation was both subtle and profound, guiding me to reevaluate my relationship with material things. I realized that minimalism is a journey toward authenticity, where every discarded item makes room for more meaningful experiences and genuine connections. This period of growth reshaped my daily routines and opened my eyes to a life governed by intention in reality. Beginning my practical journey into decluttering, I approached the process as both a physical and emotional exercise. I started with one small drawer, the contents of which, upon inspection, revealed many unnecessary items that had been quietly accumulating over time. With each item I examined, I asked myself, does this piece of my past serve a positive purpose in my present? In that quiet moment of reflection, I learned that each object carried a memory, but might not necessarily add value to my daily life. I was careful to set clear intentions for each space I wanted to simplify, treating it as a personal project filled with potential for renewal. Determined to make progress, I implemented simple yet effective strategies that made the task more manageable. First, I applied the one-in, one-out rule. For every new item introduced into my home, an old item was removed. This balance helped prevent future clutter and maintained a minimalist atmosphere. I dedicated specific days for purge sessions, during which I sorted belongings into categories: items to keep, donate, or recycle. Even the smallest victory, like clearing a single shelf, brought an unexpected sense of accomplishment and calm into my day. As I continued the journey, I encountered emotional hurdles and unexpected challenges. Memories tied to certain possessions stirred feelings of nostalgia and hesitation, making it difficult to let go. However, I came to understand that decluttering was equally about emotional release as it was about organizing physical space. Allowing myself to honor meaningful memories, without being shackled by them, was a liberating realization. I began journaling my feelings during these moments, a practice that helped dispel lingering doubts and encouraged compassion toward myself. Throughout the entire process, I embraced numerous practical tips that proved invaluable. I set timers to limit the time spent on each decision, which kept me focused and prevented overthinking. I placed gentle reminders around my home to maintain tidiness and to be mindful whenever acquiring new items. Additionally, I reserved a special area for truly sentimental pieces, ensuring that significant memories were preserved while excess clutter was removed. Step by step, the act of decluttering transformed into a journey of self-discovery and gradual growth. With each cleared space, I witnessed an inner transformation that mirrored the newfound clarity taking shape in my living environment. Every step of the decluttering process taught me valuable lessons about balance and self-care. I began to realize that each removed item made space not only in my home, but also in my heart. As the clutter diminished, I noticed that my mind became clearer and my daily routines more intentional. I took time to reflect on the choices I had made, each decision reinforcing my commitment to a simpler lifestyle. The act of letting go was not always easy, but it provided the freedom to rediscover passions that had been overshadowed by chaos. In moments of solitude, I reflected on how far I had come, realizing that minimalism was a continuous journey rather than a final destination. This ongoing process of selective acquisition and mindful release reshaped my understanding of abundance. I came to see that true richness lies in experiences, relationships, and the freedom to live without unnecessary burdens. With a reorganized space and a rejuvenated spirit, I felt prepared to embrace the future. With renewed energy and hope, ready to build a life that was both intentional and beautifully simple. Every step forward reaffirms my commitment to a life of mindful simplicity and fulfillment. I reflect on the missteps I encountered along my minimalist journey, carefully considering each mistake as a lesson learned. In the early days, I sometimes rushed into decisions, discarding items in haste without fully considering their emotional significance. I quickly realized that such impulsiveness led to regrets. In an attempt to achieve a pristine, minimalist space, I occasionally removed items out of a mere desire for order, only to later miss the warm, familiar presence they had provided. Another common pitfall was overcommitting to rapid change. I attempted to overhaul my entire home in one grand swoop, only to feel overwhelmed by the magnitude of the task. This ambitious approach blurred the distinction between mindful decluttering and chaotic purging. In my enthusiasm, I sometimes failed to acknowledge the value of compromise. I learned that minimalism is not a rigid formula that must be followed perfectly. Rather, it is a flexible, evolving process that honors both practicality and sentiment. There were moments when I confused minimalism with deprivation, mistakenly believing that less meant suffering. This misinterpretation led me to adopt extreme methods that left me feeling isolated and dissatisfied. I recall a time when I cleared out an entire bookshelf, only to find myself longing for the comfort of well-loved literature that had once decorated my space. The lesson was clear. Minimalism should enhance one's life by providing freedom, not by stripping away cherished aspects of one's identity. Another mistake was underestimating the emotional attachment we form with our belongings. It can be challenging to separate oneself from objects that have witnessed personal milestones and held sentimental value. I found it helpful to pause and contemplate these attachments, distinguishing between items that truly enriched my life and those that merely cluttered the physical space. Accepting that some memories could be preserved through photographs or stories rather than possessions was a turning point in my approach. Ultimately, I learned that the journey to minimalism is filled with trials, and every misstep offers a valuable lesson. Embracing these lessons allowed me to refine my process, ensuring that my minimalist lifestyle remained balanced, sustainable, and deeply personal. With each mistake, I grew more aware of my own needs and the importance of striking a harmony between discipline and compassion in the pursuit of simplicity. In reviewing my journey, I have come to understand that mistakes are inevitable and part of any meaningful transformation. Each error highlighted the need to balance heart with mind and passion with practicality. Rather than viewing these missteps as failures, I now see them as crucial stepping stones that steered me toward a more thoughtful and sustainable approach to minimalism. I recognize that patience, self-compassion, and ongoing reflection are integral to successfully decluttering not just our physical spaces, but also the emotional clutter that hinders growth. By embracing these insights, I have developed a deeper respect for the process and a commitment to continuously nurture both my environment and my well-being. These experiences remind me every day to grow indeed. After understanding the principles and avoiding common pitfalls, I formulated a simple, actionable to-do list to begin my minimalism journey. First, designate one specific area in your home to start the decluttering process. This could be a single drawer, a closet, or a small corner of a room. Next, set a realistic time frame for each decluttering session. Even 15 minutes of focused effort can yield surprising results. Alongside this, commit to using a timer to keep decisions swift and prevent overthinking. As you sift through your belongings, create clearly marked piles, one for items to keep, one for donations, and one for recycling. Follow these steps diligently over the course of several days until you witness tangible progress in your space. To further support your journey, schedule regular purge sessions, allowing yourself the opportunity to revisit each area and make adjustments. Framing each session as a deliberate moment of self-care can transform the experience from a daunting chore into a mindful ritual that celebrates simplicity. Embrace the idea that every small action contributes to a larger transformation. Lastly, take time to reflect on your progress by maintaining a simple journal where you note the feelings and thoughts you experience during each session. This reflective practice not only reinforces your commitment to minimalism, but also helps you identify patterns and triggers related to clutter. Every cleared space is a step toward a more intentional life, a journey where simplicity nurtures both productivity and peace. The key is to allow yourself patience and to celebrate each milestone, knowing that even small victories pave the way for lasting change. Following this to-do list, I found that the discipline of routine gradually transformed my living environment and my state of mind. Each outlined step served as a gentle reminder that minimalism is a process built on consistency and mindful effort. With incremental progress, the clutter diminished, and a calm order emerged in every corner. I embraced every moment of the process, feeling encouraged by every improvement, no matter how small, and trusting that these everyday actions cumulatively lead to a profoundly simpler life. Absolutely transformative. In the final stretch of my journey toward minimalism, I found that the transformation transcended the physical changes in my living space. It reached deep into my mindset and spirit. Reflecting on the path I had traveled, I noticed how each deliberate decision, every moment of letting go, contributed to a newfound clarity. It was not a sudden metamorphosis, but rather a slow unfolding of wisdom, patience, and self-discovery. I emerged from this process with a renewed sense of purpose and a heart unburdened by excess. Every cleared space and every donated item carried with it a lesson in balance, demonstrating that minimalism is a means to create room for what truly matters. I realized that in shedding material weight, I was also creating space for deeper experiences, more meaningful relationships, and creative pursuits that had long been suppressed by clutter. This journey taught me that the essence of life is enriched not by the quantity of possessions, but by the quality of moments and connections. In embracing a simpler lifestyle, I learned to appreciate the beauty of restraint and the power of mindful presence. Each day became an opportunity to nurture a life lived in alignment with my values, where every choice was intentional and every action a step toward a more peaceful existence. With gratitude for all the lessons learned and strength gained along the way, I now view minimalism as an ongoing journey, one that continuously invites growth, inspiration, and a deeper connection to life itself. As I close this chapter, I am reminded that minimalism is an ever-evolving practice. It encourages us to continually reassess our priorities and to cultivate spaces that reflect our truest selves. This journey offers both challenges and boundless rewards. Every step forward reaffirms my commitment to a life of mindful simplicity and fulfillment.